Hey guys, it's Rashab, and I'm bringing you day 9 of my road to Civil War. And in this one, I'm reviewing Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, it was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, stars Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Redford, and Anthony Mackie. So, when Captain America: The Winter Soldier was first coming out, there was a lot of hype around it, but not from me, because as much as I liked the first movie, the first Avenger, I really didn't enjoy that movie that much. I thought it was an okay movie. And so I expected the same thing from this movie, because I wasn't a big fan of Cap in the Avengers either. I mean, he was okay in the Avengers, but I didn't really like him in the Avengers. So I was expecting an okay movie from the Winter Soldier. And I'm happy to say that I was wrong. I loved The Winter Soldier. It's easily my favorite superhero movie of all time. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty damn close. So I'm going to start off with the positives. So basically, The Winter Soldier, it's about Captain America after the events of the Avengers, and he's trying to adjust to life in the modern world. So basically, he's a part of Shield now. He's one of their best agents. And but at the same time, he has mistrust with Shield. He feels like some of their methods are wrong, and he doesn't fully trust Nick Fury. So when that happens, a dangerous assassin called the Winter Soldier comes and seemingly kills Nick Fury in front of Captain America. So Nick Fury actually tells Captain America that Shield's been compromised and that he shouldn't trust anyone. So then Cap basically has to find out what's really going on in Shield, while also being hunted by Shield and a dangerous Winter Soldier. So as it turns out, well, actually no, I'll talk about that later. So I really like the acting in this movie, and so Chris Evans killed it as Captain America. After Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, he's easily my favorite MCU actor, and he killed it as Captain America. Like in the moments where it shows like when Cap doesn't really understand modern things, like modern sayings and like modern technology, it was hilarious to see like Chris Evans like portraying Cap in that way, because he actually had like the really confused, like I don't know what's going on kind of looks. That was amazing. I liked Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. I mean, she played relatively minor roles in Iron Man 2 and the Avengers, so it was nice to see her come into like a more of a primary role in this movie and show off like the full range of Black Widow's awesomeness, because Black Widow is actually one of the most deadliest assassins in the Marvel universe, and you really got to see that in this movie especially during her action scenes. And she's like she's like a witty, like smart aleck type person to like Captain America. At least she likes messing with him because like he's from World War II times and doesn't understand a lot of these things. And it was actually funny to see like throughout this movie she's like trying to get Cap a date, and so that was pretty hilarious to see. I liked Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. I never had a problem with him in his previous roles, and I really liked him in this movie too. Nick Fury kicked a lot of butt too in this movie, and that was cool to see. The new additions to this movie were Robert Redford as Alexander Pierce and Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. So Robert Redford, I didn't know much about him, but he's like one of my dad's favorite actors. So after watching this movie, I can see why, because he was easily the best actor in this movie. His character Alexander Pierce is the head of Shield. Even Nick Fury's the director. I guess he's like the one person above Nick Fury, and he's like the head of Shield, right? But as we later find out in the movie, Shield has been overtaken by Hydra, and basically Alexander Pierce is heading up the Hydra part of Shield. So it was cool to see like his versatile change in this movie. Like he went from being like character A to character B in this movie, and that was cool to see. And he was actually the one who orchestrated Nick Fury's assassination by the Winter Soldier. And Anthony Mackie as the Falcon was good. He was easily the least greatest actor in this movie. I'm not saying he did a bad job, but his was he was like average acting in this movie. So yeah, but I liked him as Falcon. He also was like this witty, smart aleck type in this movie, just like Black Widow. And Yeah, so I read the comics because at this point I was well immersed into the comics, so I knew who the Winter Soldier was because. But apparently, a lot of people didn't because when I was watching the movie in the theaters, when they revealed the Winter Soldier's identity, I heard a lot of gasps and like people saying "No way" and all that, right? So yeah, basically, the Winter Soldier is Captain America's old friend Bucky, who, if you remember, he seemingly died during the train mission from the first Avenger. So as it turns out, he managed to survive his fall, and he was captured by Hydra, who basically replaced his left arm with a bionic one, and they wiped his memory so he wouldn't remember who he was, and they basically turned him into an assassin. And they've been using him basically to do their dirty work. So, and basically the way they've kept him alive this long is whenever they're done using him, they put him in cryo sleep and they just reactivate him when they need him again. So the Winter Soldier, like he wasn't in this movie as long as the title would suggest. Because for a movie called Captain America: The Winter Soldier, you'd expect him to have like somewhat of a big part in this movie, but he wasn't in this movie for too long. The main villain in this movie was, well, actually Hydra, the main villains. And that was also a cool twist that I really liked about this movie because I didn't see that coming at all. So it was cool to see that Shield was falling apart under Hydra, and like Cap, when Nick Fury was like, "Okay, we'll try to take out Hydra and save Shield," Cap was basically like, "No way, we can't let this happen again." So we're burning everything to the ground, and it was cool to see Cap take that route. And then even Maria Hill, Black Widow, and Falcon, they were all saying, "Yeah, Cap's right. We can't afford to risk Hydra growing up again inside Shield." So yeah, it was cool to see that, and I really love the action in this. It was like raw, gritty action, and that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Captain America: Civil War, because the Russo brothers are directing this movie as well, and they did a great job directing this movie. The action was great. It was like I said, gritty and raw. And my favorite action scene in this movie was actually the first fight between Captain America and Winter Soldier in Chicago. So it didn't last long. I think it was probably like 2-3 minutes long, but it was easily the best action scene in the movie. And basically, like like Cap, like he's trying to save Winter Soldier from killing Black Widow, and the Winter Soldier literally grabs Cap's shield and disarms his shield in like the first 15 seconds. So then Cap is basically forced to fight the Winter Soldier hand to hand, and it was cool to see like the raw and grittiness of that action scene. Like it was literally my favorite action scene from the entire movie, maybe even in the entire MCU. And even the final battle between Cap and Winter Soldier was amazing. I loved the way it was orchestrated and the way the Russo brothers directed the action scenes. And the story was pretty good too. Like I said, like Caps, he has mistrust with Shield, and then he finds out that Shield's been actually taken over by Hydra this whole time. So then he basically has to take Shield and Hydra to the ground. Like he spent his entire life in World War II fighting to take down Hydra, and then he basically finds out that all his fighting had been for nothing. So he has to take on Hydra again. So it was cool to see that. And I also dug Cap's new costume in the movie, where it's like it was Captain Rogers' costume from the comics. So it was cool to see his new costume. And okay, there's one fight I didn't talk about when I was talking about action sequences. Like the Winter Soldier versus Cap fight, the first one was my favorite. Second one, you guys know, it has to be the elevator fight. Like that was literally a pretty cool fight between Cap and those Hydra thugs. So Cap's like basically in a small space against 12 other people, and the way he takes them all out and escapes the elevator, it was, my God, that was amazing. So, like I said, this movie isn't perfect. And like some of the flaws it has is not so much in the movie, but relating to the twist that Shield was Hydra the whole time. So because like none of the previous Marvel movies, like they didn't really do anything to set that up. I mean, there were a lot of things that, if you think about the movie, wouldn't make sense of Hydra being inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, for example, the Tesseract. If you remember in Captain America, the first Avenger, the Red Skull, who was like the face of Hydra, wanted to use the Tesseract to take over the world. But we find out, like, even in the Avengers, that S.H.I.E.L.D. had their hands on the Tesseract the whole time. So why didn't Hydra just use the Tesseract to take over the world? And why would Hydra let Shield assemble the Avengers, who could easily take them out, as we see in Avengers: Age of Ultron. So yeah, those were other problems. Like some of the problems the movie had, like the setup for this movie. Like as cool as the twist was, there wasn't really any setup for it, and in that area, it kind of fell flat. And yeah, and also another twist, I guess, like not for me, but for like other people, was the fact that obviously the Winter Soldier is Bucky, and he's like a person we thought dead that came back to life, and that happens literally three times in this movie. One with Bucky, Nick Fury when he gets killed by the Winter Soldier, and then comes back later on in the movie, and we find out that Arnim Zola was also alive. Like, okay, his was okay because he wasn't alive in body. Like they transferred his mind into a supercomputer, so that was okay. But it was like that's one of the things like some people don't like about Marvel is that they never kill off their characters like properly. Like, they always bring them back. So that was cool to see. I mean, it wasn't cool to see. It was like, I guess, a problem with this. And the post credit scene for this movie, the first one, was it shows Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who would later go on to play in Avengers: Age of Ultron. And also, this movie had a lot of feels as well. So one of the biggest feels in this movie was obviously Cap and like Bucky. They're close friends. They're like almost like brothers. And it was like after they had taken on the helicarriers, and then Cap was basically trying to get Bucky to remember him because like I said, they keep wiping Bucky's memories every time he starts to remember who he is. So he didn't remember Cap. So Cap was basically trying everything to get Bucky to remember him, and he was willing to go as far as to let Bucky kill him if it meant helping Bucky, because Bucky didn't remember him, and Cap was like, "I'm not gonna fight you. You're my friend." And then Bucky was like, "You're on a mission." And then he basically starts pounding Cap's face with his bionic arm, and like in the next shot, you see the Cap's face is all bloody and beaten, and like Cap was like, "Fine, go ahead, kill me. I don't care as long as you're fine." And that was like one of the feel moments in this movie, and yeah, it was heartbreaking to see like these two friends like become like be like drawn this low. And I mean, Bucky gets his memories back. He saves Cap in the end. But yeah, that was like a heartbreaking scene for me. And yeah, so overall, guys, this movie had great action. It had great acting. The direction was amazing. The most of the flaws in this movie were basically the setup for the Hydra twist. And it didn't really work, even though the Hydra twist was awesome and unexpected. The Winter Soldier was a great character. I really loved his fight scenes with Cap. And yeah, overall, guys, this movie is not perfect. It does have its flaws, but it's easily one of Marvel's better movies, and it's easily my favorite superhero movie of all time. So bias aside, I'm going to give Captain America: The Winter Soldier an 8.5 out of 10. So that concludes my review of Captain America: The Winter Soldier and day 9 of my road to Civil War. So yeah, so what did you guys think of Captain America: The Winter Soldier? And did you see the Hydra twist coming or not? And if you haven't read the comics, what did you think of seeing that the Winter Soldier was actually Bucky? So whatever you thought, just comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, click like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.